Harvey students, faculty, administration, and parents, welcome to the Michael Lopes Poetry Competition. Every year, we gather in this theater to celebrate poetry. I'd like to acknowledge all of our students who took the time to memorize a piece presented in their English class and also maybe the semifinals. If you are a scholar in my English class, you might have heard me speak about the human condition, a concept to which we can all relate, yet often struggle to fully understand and put into words. So, how can one possibly describe the emotional complexities of existing in our very human world? Well, I believe we can find our way through poetry. Poetry is a medium that has the power to pack words and imagery with meaning, to evoke emotions, and leave the reader and listener breathless. Poetry is language as an art form, like a stunning stained glass window that provides light and a glimpse into our thoughts, relationships, and minds.
There were a number that kind of made the poem feel like their own. Like they'd written it, and you could really feel the emotion through their whole body, and it was I was very moved.
It was like, to me, it was like love. They were, I think they maybe all of them loved what they were doing,
right.
Loved the poems,
right.
And were gifting us with, something that meant a lot to them.
They made the poem their own, and they really embodied it. And it was both in their posture and deliverance. You could see it in their eyes, and the way that they just they carried the words didn't carry them.
It felt very natural and authentic, and it didn't feel performed.
Poetry is not a luxury. It is a way of entering and experiencing life with people, and just the way that so many, all of these readers, all of these performers today were reading other people's writing, and the way that it can transcend time or generations or experiences, and still be felt so well in the body and experienced in the body. That's what brings me to it.
What was that Emily Dickinson quote about? She knows something like she knows it's poetry if the top of her head comes off, something like that.
Right.
To me, that was. I was in tears sometimes, and it was just. I felt elevated.
Place for the genuine hands that can grasp, eyes that can dilate, hair that can rise, if it must. These things are important, not because a high-sounding interpretation may be put upon them, but because they are useful when they become so derivative as to become unintelligible. The same thing may be said for all of us.
Wondering if there will also be a sun and a moon, and will the dead gather to watch them rise and set, then repair each soul alone to some ghastly equivalent of a bed? Or will the first night be the only night? A darkness for which we have no other name?
Puny men tease me, poke and try to anger me. They fail. The benderiero, big as a bull, rides a horse. Poor beast of burden, pokes and fails. The sharp knife enters swiftly, and I know what's coming. Feel it as sure as I breathe, with nostrils wide, huffing.
I am the young man, full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying needs, of work the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed.
When we think about the early death of Keats, we are glad to be spared the bother of dying ourselves. His poems are a candy store of bitter sweets. We munch whole flights of angels from his shelves, drooling a sticky glut, almost enough to sicken us.
She twisted her hands behind her, but all the knots held good. She writhed her hands till her fingers were wet with sweat or blood. They stretched and strained in the darkness, that hours crawled by like years. Till now, on the stroke of midnight. Cold, on the stroke of midnight. The tip of one finger touched it. The trigger at least was hers. The tip of one finger touched it. She strove no more for the rest.
and burning in this affection in which I get inflamed. I tell you many times that I love you. Will you forget about me? Oh no, sweet memory of my life. Whenever I struggle in a dangerous fight, whenever my sore soul cries, remembering my farewell goodbye, you will remember me.
If love were mine, if love were mine, I know what I would do. I'd take it, spare it, give it, share it, lend it, spend it too. If beauty I could claim for mine, to hold, to cherish too, I'd strive to spread it, pour it, shed it, till it flowed the whole world through.
I want to write a love poem for the girls I kissed in 7th grade. A song for what we did on the floor in the basement of somebody's parents' house. A hymn for what we didn't say but thought, that feels good, or I like that.
I could hear the boy's mother sobbing inside, then stopping. Sobbing, then stopping. Was the end of her grief already there? Had her someone in her told her it would end? Was her someone in her kinder to her? Not tearing at her as mine did? Still does? Me? For guessing grief someday ends? Is that why her sobbing stopped sometimes? She didn't laugh, though, or I never heard her.
And our winner is Sienna Colgan.